Have you ever had one of those moments where the whole world just flips upside down, where you look around and ask yourself, is this real life? Am I really standing here, being accused of breaking into my own home? Because that's exactly where I found myself one Tuesday morning, hammer in hand, trying to repair my front door, the same one I had locked every night for the past 4 years. My name is James Holloway. I'm 67, a retired civil engineer, widower, father of 3 grown kids, and a proud homeowner in a neighborhood called Fairpoint Glen, a tidy little suburb just outside Richmond, Virginia. I bought the house after my wife passed away, needed a change of pace, somewhere quiet with a good porch for reading and enough sun for tomatoes. That's all I really wanted. A garden, a newspaper, and peace. But peace had a name in this neighborhood, and her name was Judith Cranston. Judith lived 2 doors down, always in a pastel cardigan, always with a clipboard, always with something to say about community standards. If there was an HOA rule to memorize, Judith had it framed in her living room. She wasn't on the board, mind you. No, that would imply responsibility. She preferred to haunt the edges, whispering into ears and wielding influence through complaint forms and passive-aggressive notes. From the day I moved in, I was on her radar. The first time she confronted me, I was planting roses. She marched across my lawn, heels stabbing into the fresh sod, and said, "Those are not on the approved list of flora." I looked up, wiped my hands, and said, "Ma'am, these are antique peace roses." Section 3, Paragraph 2 of the HOA guidelines lists them as permitted. Want me to email you the PDF? She didn't say another word, just turned around, muttering to herself. That set the tone. So when someone tried to break into my house late one Monday night and I caught it all on my security cams, I figured I'd just fix the damage quietly. No need to make a fuss. I replaced the splintered door jamb the next morning, taking my time, chiseling carefully. That's when I heard the voice. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" I turned, and there she was. Judith, dressed in a lavender tracksuit that looked like it had seen better decades, holding her phone up like a crucifix warding off evil. "Fixing my door," I said flatly. "Someone tried to break in last night." "Liar," she hissed. "You don't live there. I've seen you skulking around. You're breaking into that house." I blinked, stood up slowly, still holding the wood chisel. "Judith, you know who I am. We've had this conversation before. I live here." She took a step back, dramatically dialing 911. "Yes, I'd like to report a break-in. A large man is destroying the front door. I think he's armed. Please hurry. I'm terrified." The absurdity nearly made me laugh. Instead, I placed the chisel gently on the railing and folded my arms. Because what do you do when someone weaponizes fear? You wait. You breathe. You plan. 10 minutes later, the squad car rolled up, blue and red lights bouncing off the white trim of my porch. 2 officers stepped out, one tall and stone-faced, the other younger, her eyes flicking from me to Judith and back again. "Sir, we need you to step away from the door and show us your hands," the tall one said. "Of course, officer," I replied, calm. "My name is James Holloway. I own this home. Would you like to see my ID or the deed first?" Judith was practically vibrating. "He's a fraud. He forged everything." They looked at my ID, then back at me, still not convinced. "You say there was an attempted break-in last night?" the younger one asked. "Yes. I didn't file a report. I thought I might handle it myself. But I recorded it. Would you like to see?" That got their attention. Inside, I pulled up the footage on my computer. 2 angles. High-res. Time-stamped. A skinny figure in a hoodie, fumbling with a crowbar, caught in my porch light like a deer in headlights. Then a moment. He jogged away, passed under a street lamp, pushed his hood back, and there it was. His face. Clear as day. "Recognize him?" I asked. The officers leaned in. The younger one let out a breath. "Is that Ethan Cranston?" I said. "Judith's son." The silence that followed was thick. Embarrassed. Furious. "They arrested Ethan that afternoon." Tried to talk to Judith. She fainted on her own lawn. I watched from my porch as paramedics hoisted her up and loaded her into the ambulance. But that wasn't the end. Not for me. Because even though the truth was out, the damage lingered. The implication, the humiliation, the knowledge that in Judith's eyes, I was never a neighbor, I was a suspect waiting to be confirmed. So I did what engineers do. I gathered data. I spoke with my neighbors. Quietly. Over coffee. Over fences. I heard story after story. HOA complaints over fence height. Noise from children. Decorative flags. A family cited for a Ramadan lantern. Another for a ramp installed for their elderly mother. All traced back to Judith. I compiled it all. Created charts. Dates. Violations. Photos. I drafted a proposal. An amendment to the HOA bylaws that required 2 signatures for any complaint, plus penalties for repeated false reports. We called it the Neighborly Conduct Clause. I brought it to the next HOA meeting. Gave a presentation. Clean. Calm. Professional. Slide after slide of unreasonably targeted enforcement. And then I showed them the letter. Judith's anonymous attempt to stoke fear, mailed to every resident. A clumsy, veiled attack on changing neighborhood demographics. That letter was her downfall. The room turned. One by one, hands went up in support of the amendment. I submitted proxy votes from neighbors too tired or too afraid to show up. The vote passed. Judith didn't speak. She just sat there, clutching her purse, the last remnants of her power slipping quietly through her fingers. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. The HOA became more transparent. Neighbors started talking, helping, living. I built a rocking horse for my granddaughter. My roses bloomed again. The basketball hoop went back up down the street. And Judith? Well, her yard went wild. No more clipboard. No more notes. Just a quiet woman behind drawn blinds, watching a community she no longer controlled. That was my victory. Not revenge. Just reality restored. Now, I know stories like mine aren't unique. Maybe you've had your own Judith in your neighborhood. Someone who thinks power means fear. Someone who uses rules like weapons. If you have, I'd love to hear about it. Because at the end of the day, the real justice wasn't in the arrest, or the HOA vote, or the spreadsheet I made with way too many color-coded tabs. It was in reclaiming peace. Porch peace. Tomato growing, tea sipping, Miles Davis on a Saturday peace. And let me tell you, after everything that happened, the porch never felt quieter. The tea never tasted sweeter. And the view never looked better. Drop a comment if you've ever dealt with a neighborhood tyrant. I'm James Holloway, and that was the day a purple tracksuit and a false 911 call nearly flipped my life upside down until the truth flipped it right back.